with you. Flip a doujin in the bed, I'm reading manga till it's 2. Tell me that you love a sip, I go, I'm knowing that it's true. Cause you acting all moe and vanilla in my view. So this is for them waifus, straight 2D flex in my life, fool. If you fuck with hentai, you my dude. Let the beat right out, keep it nice and smooth, yo. Hello? Yeah, I got a question.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the weeabooze, the anime podcast where some of the most unqualified people try to answer your anime questions. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Sam.
I'm Hunter.
And this week, we will be talking to you about kind of a more, informative topic. There's no denying that there's so much hypersexualized anime, and that is a result of the obvious fact that the anime industry is dominated by males providing content to more sexually deprived males, more or less. And while I personally don't have a problem with some anime being over-sexualized, the fact of the matter is that sex sells, and that honestly Japan is a little bit sexist, to be completely honest.
Yes.
However, anime has an incredible amount of anime with fantastic representation of female characters, their sexuality, and even gender as a whole. But I forgot to ask what we're drinking.
Some weird shit. I just tasted it.
I like it.
I really like Left Hand Brewery, so I found them again at Total Wine, and this is their Oktoberfest Mars and Lager. Probably mispronounced that.
It's a very different tasting
I feel like
Oktoberfest.
it needs to be colder.
It
I feel like
doesn't-
I didn't chill it enough.
Yeah. I think that's what it is.
That's why I had you throw them in the fridge.
Yeah.
I like Kona Brewing Co., so I brought a Kona. It's
Big wave.
It's their big wave. It's a golden ale.
Nice.
It's tasty, yes.
Oh, yeah, we also need to probably retell our drinking rule.
We got a screen with a bunch of stuff going across it. You might hear one of us yell, "But take a drink." That means there's a butt on screen, and we must all drink to honor the cheeks.
So how do you guys feel overall about the representation of women in anime?
It's sexual. Every chance they get, just about.
Okay.
Just kidding. Well, I mean, it feels like it. It's
Sometimes,
definitely overdone.
Yeah, sometimes. I'd say, like, for example, like a lot of people say that like Legend of Korra was an incredibly progressive type of show, especially for female representation and all that. But I see a lot of anime that is, twice as progressive as the single, animated show we got in America.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what progressive means.
What do you mean
Forward
by
thinking.
Push it forward?
Not stuck in its time. Not like women have their roles as the damsel in distress.
Oh.
But,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. No, I totally get that.
I think with anime, with female characters, they make them very extreme one way or the other. Like, they're either very sexual or very tomboy.
Badass, kinda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. And there's not much in between.
There's a very quiet. There's a very mean.
There's no average. It's you have to be
You have to be
an extreme.
standing out.
But then again, that's like every character in anime.
Maybe.
Well, every characters in television, yes.
Any
Characters
memorable
in-
character, yeah.
Sure.
But more than that, like, back to just how are they represented, I don't think it's all over-sexualized so much as, like, all of them are either, like, even the tomboy ones, somebody thinks that they're really cute or really, like, adorable in whatever way. They're either, like, super cute in some way or, like, over the top, supposed to be the ugly character. Like, they overdo and over-accentuate every feature of her body.
Yeah, I guess. I get that.
Do you have an example in mind?
I can't think of an example, but I've seen it.
But
I know.
ugly anime characters. I can't
That I
picture
have
one,
an
honestly.
example
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're going to draw a character, why would they draw the character to be ugly? You mentioned
It's
something
real life,
interesting.
man. There's
Kyle-
ugly people
Actually,
in
yes,
life.
I do like that about animes when they break from literally everyone being gorgeous and cute to being real like that.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Sam?
Well, you mentioned something interesting when you were talking about the topic with us, which was that, are the characters just super over sexualized?
You just pulled up a picture of the old woman from what is it?
Tatami
Spirit-
Galaxy?
No, what? No.
Oh wait, no. So I'm thinking of
Spirited
like
Away or
yeah.
Howl's Moving Castle. Howl's.
Was it Howl's?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like the.
I was thinking of like the old fortune teller lady.
Ah. Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah.
goodness gracious, that is an ugly anime character.
Oh, look at that.
They exist.
All right.
But
Well,
wait.
okay. Yeah.
You were saying you mentioned that like are all the characters over sexualized or are they just seen in like the wrong light because guys look at them
Yes.
with like horny eyes, right?
Right.
And I think
Not all
it's
characters are
more
sexualized.
that than anything. Like, don't get me wrong, I think female characters are very heavily sexualized in anime.
Before we get even further, let me give our listeners some context in regards to that concept.
Sure.
Which is, for the most part, I think the main problem with female representation in anime is not how the characters are written, but it's that many anime are victims of the male gaze. Are we all familiar with what the male gaze is, or should I go into what that is?
I can surmise what it is, but if there's like a definition, sure.
Sounds self-explanatory.
Right, I mean, just really briefly, the male gaze is when a form of media, like a book or a movie, depicts women from a masculine perspective. So, it is very self-explanatory.
Males are writing their parts.
Exactly,
or
yes.
designing them, right.
So
Are there any like female
there
manga
are.
writers and directors?
Yep, there are a lot, and we'll
Have
talk
they-
about them.
Ooh, I want to. Can we do that now?
Yeah, I was going to say, talking about it now, like what?
Some directors are Naoko Yamada. She directed K-On!
The
Let's
best.
see. Rie Matsumoto. She directed Kyosogiga and a few others. Sayo Yamamoto directed Michikoto Hachin and Lupin III, A Woman Named Fujiko Mine. Chiaki Kon directed Higurashi, which is that horror anime I told you guys about. There are some screenplay and script writers. We have Reiko Yoshida, which did the screenplay for K-On! And Bakuman. Miho Mauro did Kyosogiga and Colorful. Mari Okada did Toradora Anohana. And I think Mari Okada also did Kisniver.
Oh.
There are a few animation directors. Kazumi Ikeda did Clannad and Canon. Okay.
Oof. She is not drawn like she is in the anime.
I like it.
What anime
That's
Evangelion.
Evangelion. That's the new girl that's only in the movies.
And then we have a few composers. One of the most notable is Yoko Kanno. So she did all the music for Cowboy Bebop and Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex,
That's
Wolf's
a good
Rain.
person.
Then there is Yuki Kaijura, who did the music for Madoka.
So there's a lot.
There's a good amount. Not compared to the amount of
Right.
males, but there's a handful. There's a good amount, and there's actually a good amount of female manga authors like Sakamoto. Haven't you heard Sakamoto? That's a female.
Oh, she did that?
Yeah,
Sweet, she's hilarious.
yeah, she's great. So, back to the male gaze. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yes. So I think it's very obvious when, at least to me, it's very obvious when a character is like a victim of the male gaze versus when they're just overly sexualized. Perfect example that everyone knows is Faye Valentine, right?
Yeah.
Because I think she's a very like sexy character, but that's just who the character is. Like to me,
Yeah.
watching an episode of Bebop is like, it's not like the same high octane, but it's like watching an episode of, or watching like James Bond.
Yes, but like Faye isn't sexualized. She is sexy.
Exactly, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
I think that's the
I think
difference.
she's kind of sexualized.
Like maybe in some
It's just
instances,
the outfit
like the
that
movie.
they chose to give her.
Right, but if you
her
think
about it-
personality
It
so
does.
well.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, actually. I love that character as a reference.
The male gaze, for example, like how many times have we been watching a movie or a series together and a conversation is happening between a male and a female and the camera's cutting back and forth between the two when we suddenly have a camera angle that perfectly frames the female's ass as we see
Yeah.
the male in the background and he's just like listening to her. Or if like the male's talking and the camera starts just like panning over the female's body in like an unnecessarily sexualized way.
Cookie ass.
And a more literal example would be Perfect Blue, where the entire movie is about how all these men look at her. It's about the male gaze, essentially.
Right.
And the thing is, you can't watch an ecchi or a harem and complain about it being sexist, but when you're watching a show that is, perfectly normal, for lack of a better term, and then out of nowhere, these females are entirely sexualized, then it's a problem.
That's kind of like Code Geass is a super good example of that. Because you have, I seriously can't remember a single name of a single character, but the redhead bitch.
Karen? Yeah.
Sure. Like, every time you have, a male in one of the suits, like, fighting, it just kind of shows fighting.
Yeah.
But if it's a female in the thing, it's, like, complete, like, ass overarching back shot of her, like, in the cockpit.
Yeah, totally.
Entire time.
Well, I mean, what's majority of anime's target audience?
Yeah, like I said, sexually deprived males. So.
Oh, God. Right. It becomes a problem when it's just obvious, too much, unnecessary.
You see it a lot in fight scenes too. Like a male can swing a sword and just defeat his opponent, but when a female does it, it has to be sexy. It has to have some like over the top, some sort of fan service shot.
I don't remember the name of the anime. It was some like really shitty anime that I walked in into your room one time and like you were playing it, and it was a really pretty anime, but like it was Team Red versus Team Blue or whatever, and they're all in the sky and they start fighting, and then some really busty chick just starts whooping ass, and as soon as she lands, all of her clothes literally just like rip off.
I don't remember at all.
This was like maybe 3 anime seasons ago.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to think of it.
I think it had a
don't
name
know.
King in it, something like that. I'll figure it out and get back to you.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll get back to that.
Yeah, no, they literally just fucking rip. As soon as she, like, her feet touch the ground, it's just, her clothes rip and steam just, like, everywhere.
She's like, God, just like I planned.
All right, do we want to move on to some examples of shows with really good female representation?
Sure.
Okay, the first one that came to mind...
We named one already.
Yeah, we did. Almost any Ghibli movie.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of those movies are have female main characters, and they have a really good quote from
Aren't they,
Miyazaki.
like, kids often? I feel like
Does that matter?
you're less likely to over-sexualize a kid.
That's not
character.
true at all in
Okay,
anime.
go ahead and watch, like, a shit ton of...
Like, I don't think we've watched like half as much anime where a character is over like 15.
They might look like they are, but they're not.
But I mean, like,
They're all, like,
in
junior
Ghibli
high
movies,
kids.
they're like 4 to like 8 or something, maybe 10. Like, obviously, just littler kids.
But you still get it, though. Like,
Yeah.
You do still see it.
Yeah. A really cool quote from Miyazaki is that many of my movies have strong female leads, brave, self-sufficient girls that don't think twice about fighting for what they believe in with all their heart. They'll need a friend or a supporter, but never a savior. Any woman is just as capable of being a hero as any man. So as for, what's the word? Like, crotchety as Miyazaki is, he's pretty forward-thinking when it comes to female protagonists, at least.
Right. How a female protagonist should be, just like any other protagonist.
Yeah, totally. Another, like, one of the best examples is Revolutionary Girl Utena. It's a show about, like, the defiance of gender norms. Utena sort of deconstructs fairy tale, knight in shining armor stories while also addressing issues of misogyny. Utena, and I've kind of not used the word feminist yet, but it's a very feminist show in a very good way. It's really the epitome of what we're talking about. For examples, I think it's the best of the best. But something I know that we'll all be able to talk about to a certain degree is Kill la Kill.
She was very sexualized. Like, the whole show.
But it's a satire. It's
What
proving a
the
point.
Fuck.
Yeah, but it didn't have to
Take a drink.
prove the point.
Everyone
the
take a drink.
entire anime, though.
There's a
Oh, it
button
totally
a whole
did.
lot more on screen right now.
Tell the same.
I think it's funny we have this drinking game while talking about female empowerment. But
As we drink to butts.
yeah. When I think of Kill la Kill in regards to our topic, a quote immediately came to mind from Satsuki, and I'd like to read that if you guys don't mind.
You have to do it in her voice, though. In
Agreed.
Japanese.
If you don't, you have to finish your drink.
Well, she has a deep voice anyways. I'm not going to do it. I'll take a drink. Satsuki says, to unleash the most power, this is the form a kamui must take. You cling to the puritanical views of the masses, proving just how inferior you are, but I won't be ashamed. If it means I can fulfill my ambitions, I will bare my breasts for all to see. I will do whatever it takes, for I know that my actions are utterly pure. And that's...
Wait, what's the main reason why she has to?
That's trying to explain why the fucking outfits are so skimpy.
No, yeah, I know that, but what's the main reason for them being skimpy? Proving just how inferior you are? I don't get it.
That's during the scene where Ryuko, like, first dons her kamui,
Okay.
and it, like, she's so incredibly embarrassed. So...
Still don't know how that makes her inferior.
because Satsuki is flaunting her body, for lack of a better term, where she's hiding.
Okay. Proving just
To really simplify it down, it's like self-confidence compared to like being embarrassed by those around you. It's literally how the power level works in Kill la Kill.
doesn't matter how you look, you have to do it. Right? Or pretty much, like.
Right. But I still think that's like, I don't know. You say it's like strong female leads, but it is like very, very sexualized show. There is like beyond.
But it's intentional.
I would say the sexuality is overcome by the ambition of
message.
the character, the message. Message for the audience.
That
like,
being said, it's very equal opportunity. Fan
yeah,
service.
but it's done. But because it can be both ways so easily, I would say it's very tasteful.
Right, and like by the end, when they are all completely naked, like that show isn't sexual. Like, you don't care.
Good show, Sam. You should watch
You haven't
it.
watched it? Oh, it's so good.
No, I don't want to watch it.
He doesn't want to.
That's a drink.
Take a drink.
Oh my
not?
gosh, so many.
Why don't you want to watch
I found the name of the anime.
Yeah.
I was wrong about it being like 3 seasons ago. It was like 2 years ago. Not quite. No, it was like a year ago. Return of Kings. Return of Kings. Remember episode 1 when they're all like fighting in the sky?
Yeah, I don't like that anime.
Yeah, I know. You just watched it. I think you just watched that episode because boobs.
You're probably right. Okay.
Female empowerment episode.
So, the next example, like, do we want to talk about Kill la Kill anymore? Do we disagree?
Well, I mean, I'd just like you to take a stronger stance. I don't quite agree with you yet.
Well, I think we've said this like 3 times already in previous episodes, where we have very different opinions on Kill la Kill, and I would actually love to do a full episode on Kill la Kill.
You know what? I almost want to watch it just so I can make an episode on it because maybe my opinions and views aren't fair. Because you say it's
They're
all
not,
one,
because you haven't
I
seen
know,
it.
I know. I know you say like it's all one big satire.
Yeah.
But
It
I
is,
feel
kinda.
I know, but I feel like they know the audience, they know who's gonna watch it, so they make a show like that and say it's in the name of satire.
That's not its goal though, and it's very obvious. It's like
It is obviously like the sexuality, as much as there is, does not come first. Like
there's-
there is other stuff.
there's so much goofiness around it,
Right.
Or like I don't know. There's it's in the middle of things,
And the
but it's
fact that
obviously
they're-
in the middle.
Sexualizing the male characters just
Just
as
as
much,
much.
Yeah.
if not like
More.
more. That's what tells me that it's not like pandering only.
Right.
There is pandering, but it's not the.
It may have done well, but it's not. The majority is not because of its sexuality.
So, yeah, let's save this and talk about Kill la Kill, like, as the full episode. I'd love to do that.
Sure.
Another is Sailor Moon, or honestly any magical girl genre. It's kind of self-explanatory as well. It's essentially the female superhero show that's arguably cooler than like actual male-oriented superhero shows. Like, it's way flashier. It's really pretty. It's awesome. I don't know if like I would say Madoka is specifically about like extremely strong female casts, which they are, but not so
I think
much.
you got to be mentally strong to go through the kind of shit they went through.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
totally. But Sailor Moon is a little bit more literal about, strong female characters, whereas Madoka is just a completely, perfect show, essentially.
Oh god.
It's pretty much perfect.
What was Sailor Moon's like little sister's name? Was it like Mini Moon?
I thought they were all different planets. I thought it was like.
Well, there
Sailor
was
Mars,
there was
Sailor-
Sailor Jupiter, there was all the sailors, and then there was Sailor Moon. But then like in season 2 or
Yeah,
something,
it's
she
like-
gets a little sister.
Well, yeah, it's like Chibi, whatever.
Yeah, I forget what her like sailor name is. I thought it was Mini Moon. If it's
Yeah, that sounds right.
She have a fat friend named Mars.
Get out of here.
What?
We're running a little long. I want to wrap up a few more. Ghost in the Shell is a fantastic example.
Or Go Proxy.
Yeah, good female.
oh,
really good.
that's a great example.
Really good female.
With Ghost in the Shell, it's all about like sexuality and decency. Well, it's not
I wouldn't
about
even
that.
say that at all. Yeah.
It's-
I wouldn't say it was about indecency.
No, about decency. And it's not about that, but that's just a really cool idea that's present in the Ghost in the Shell universe is decency. Because in that universe, when anyone can put their consciousness inside another body, why is it a bad thing for like a male to be in a female body? And then if that's the case, like sexuality is irrelevant.
Right.
Like what's
Yeah.
the point in walking around naked if
Completely
anyone can be in
separate,
any
yeah.
body? And like in the manga, there's actually a really interesting idea about like asexuality, meaning, I hope I remember this right. Homosexual relationships are more normal because you link your consciousness when you have sex with your partner. So a female can register the pleasure the other female is having because they have the same parts if you think of them like computers. Whereas if it's a heterosexual relationship and they connect their consciousness, you actually feel pain because your body is trying to register pleasure in a part of your body you don't have.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
That is a weird way to
Think
about
of it like a computer
Why
error.
does it have to be pain?
Because it's an error. It's like a...
Cannot compute.
Exactly. I mean...
But they're like
I don't
puzzle
know.
pieces. They fit together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not that different from each other.
in a physical aspect, yes, but
In a lot of aspects.
I mean, Ghost in the Shell is not completely about that, and that aspect is not even in the anime. It's
Okay,
just
sure.
part of the manga.
Well, for Ghost in the Shell, I don't think it mattered what gender the character was. I think it would have been the same show, which speaks to the writing of the character.
Totally. A few other really quickly. There's Akagami no Shiroyuki Hime. Jeremy mentioned Ergo Proxy. Michiko to Hachin, which not only does gender but also race, which anime never touches.
I've never seen a not stereotypical like character.
Monster does that. Monster's like all over the place with Germans, Russians, Japanese, Chinese, even. Like,
Yeah.
Like they're really specific, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there are a few.
But monsters are very serious anime.
Yes,
like,
it is. Wandering Sun, which is all about sexuality and self-identity, and think it's very, very progressive. Kurage Hime is fantastic. I love Kurage Hime. It's Princess Jellyfish, if you've heard of it.
I think so.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
And then Gunbuster and Diebuster are very literal in terms of female empowerment.
I'm surprised you didn't mention was Wolf Children.
Really?
I was thinking about
'Cause
that
she's
because
like-
it's like a really strong
It's a
female
single mother.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I didn't think about
Story.
that. That's a cool idea.
and I mean, I think that's a really, really well written character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Do you guys have any final thoughts on this?
Whenever I think of this topic, I think the most fair way to conceptualize it is almost comparing anime to live action movies and
Sure.
how female characters are portrayed differently in one or the other. And the more I think about it, I think honestly they're portrayed very similarly. The only difference is that when something is drawn, when it's animated, it seems more deliberate. Like if you have a sexy ass character walking down in a sexy dress, right? Just
Yeah.
walking down a hall and like everything's jiggling. Well, if you're just recording that, jiggles are jiggles. Like it's just gonna fucking
Yeah.
happen.
Scarlett Johansson's just hot.
Exactly.
Like, that's what it is.
But when you're drawing them in, because it seems so deliberate, it almost just seems like it's over sexualized. So that's where I think we get back to the male gaze. And I think even though I'm like the biggest hater on fan service of any kind, I think you do have to be fair when you look at it and say, all right, well, what is the point of this sexuality? Is
Yeah.
there reason behind it? And if there is, I think it's totally valid.
Yes, I think we talked about in our fan service episode that, if it's justified, fan service is fantastic. It's great. And at that point, it's not really fan service, but
Yeah. Because a female character can be really attractive and a really strong, powerful character in her own sense.
yeah.
Comparing anime to live action, it's a lot more taboo to do any sexuality in live action. It's for whatever reason I get the feeling that like a lot of shows or just live action in general stays away from sexualizing due to fear of like because it's taboo. Like I said, to fear of losing viewers.
You ever
Whereas
watch
anime-
HBO?
To counter that just a little bit, I mean, sure, like HBO, Game of
Any
Thrones,
HBO,
but like,
HBO show.
I don't think I've ever seen like a
Westworld.
sex scene in an anime, and they're in like every other movie.
No, but does that give them credence to throw every jiggly part in your face all the time?
But I mean, it just seems like that's kind of an extreme thing that I've never seen in anime. Like that's
Okay. But, I mean, if you see a sex scene in something, it's obviously geared for adults. How many animes have you seen geared for adults?
I mean, I guess the age, the normal age that you're going for with anime is a little bit lower.
So if it's so taboo for this wide range of ages that for live action, why do they overdo it in anime? Is my question or point.
Because they can.
Exactly. It's just money.
The
and
type of
numbers.
sexuality in anime is a little bit more immature than like the type of sexuality you would see in live action.
Okay. Okay.
If that makes any sense. It's like a maturity thing. If we see sexuality in movies, it's like it is like actually sexual. Whereas when we see sexuality in anime, it's just like
it's just tugging.
yeah,
on you.
yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
just-
exactly.
Okay, I get you.
I don't know if that translated well over audio. Jeremy was like,
I was like tugging a wiener or something like it. Or
What?
That's what I did, but I imagine myself like tugging on your shirt.
Let
basically.
go of me.
okay, well, let's answer a question really quickly before we go into what we're watching. We have a question from our boy Darvinger. He asks,
boy.
hey Kyle, just watched the episode about what makes classic anime. And in the podcast, you guys talked about anime versus their movies, and I was wondering what your opinions on the One Piece movies were, seeing as it both is condensed movies to make getting their backstories easier, as well as what I see as good filler archetype events.
Kyle, why don't you do all of it? Because I've never seen One
yeah.
Piece.
I've got something to say too.
Okay. There are the movies which cover the the big events in terms of like when he meets or recruits people to his crew. The other movies are like what he said, which are filler episodes more or less, but they're very well animated and very actiony. I like both of them. I think they both have their positive attributes. The ones that focus on the story, normally I would say those are the types of anime movies that just try to get income. You know, they're trying to earn money.
Right.
But I do think that because One Piece is much older and the shows that episodes it reanimated are so dated, like they're still in the 4:3 aspect ratio, it has a lot of meaning to reanimate them because One Piece's style has changed over time. I also really like the actual filler type movies because they are what people think One Piece is, which is like an action-y show, which actually One Piece is more of a comedy, but people who watch the anime love the One Piece movies because we finally get to see that action, which is not present throughout the entire anime. And a lot of them are actually worked on by the original creator of One Piece.
It's hard for their movie adaptations or movie like just extras like that not to be fillers.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's hard for them not to be fillers, but it's good for them to be fillers because watching like 300 episodes of Bleach and then going into a movie, it felt so rushed. Condensed, like you're like half-assed introduced to all these characters kind of, and it watching the anime before makes it seem bad,
right?
But because it's filler like that, it's good for any non-devoted watcher.
Sure. Yeah.
It almost just depends on the length of the series. Like if you have 300 episode One Piece and you try to condense it into like a movie, like you're gonna just throw out so much stuff. Whereas if you're trying to condense like 13 episodes of Madoka into a movie, it can work.
Okay, sure, yeah. I don't think One Piece or anything long like that has tried to do a condensed version of their anime as a movie.
Well, he said that it'll do important segments of it, I guess.
Okay. Oh, right. Like okay, sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're running a little long, so let's quickly kind of rush through what we're watching. Hunter shaking his head. Sam,
Man, I would way rather talk about
We saw the Kizu.
Kizu.
Yeah, the
yeah,
Kizu movie.
we saw Kizu Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
But we're gonna do like a big Bakemono and Kizumono episode once these guys actually finish Bakemono.
But I fucking hate it.
No,
I don't care.
You love it.
I don't care.
It's so guilty and he's so pleasured by it.
Jeremy, what are you watching?
Westworld.
Yeah.
Yes.
Watching Westworld.
Oh
so
my
dope.
god, I've got Oh man, I can't wait till we talk about this off podcast.
I just can't wait for more episodes. Like, I mean, nobody knows anything yet, but there's some good theories out there.
Oh, I
It's
know
my
so
favorite
much.
anime.
It's not whatever.
It is entertainment nonetheless. My god.
I'll probably watch it sometime.
Westworld. I'm kind of watching Monster. Monster's awesome because it's not like one really long drawn out storyline. Like they like present the setting and the idea, and they do like episodes that don't necessarily have to do with each other. Like episodes they have lots of different characters that they can focus on, and it very much feels like some long TV drama.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really fun. Yeah, it's really good.
Let's see. I have a lot I kind of wanted to say about a few shows, but I'll shorten things down. Hibike Euphonium had a very cool big performance episode. Normally when an anime does like a big concert scene, it'll be like 2 minutes and the camera will cut to like background scenes because they don't want to animate people playing guitars for 2 minutes because it's really hard. This was like a full 7-minute scene of a band performance without any cuts.
I want to see it.
Oh,
It was
cool.
really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Granted, brass is probably a little bit easier to animate than like strings, but that's besides the point. Yuri on Ice is getting a lot of attention for a lot of different reasons. We have like professional ice skaters are getting really into Yuri on Ice. They're tweeting about it, which is kind of crazy. In addition to the fact that it's suffering a lot from production issues. Crunchyroll gets it first because that has to get subbed. And we got a very poorly animated version of Yuri on Ice, but when it aired in Japan, it looked entirely different because they had redrew scenes. And this is a very complicated issue about production and the anime industry, which is we don't have enough time to talk about that now. I think to shorten it, the director was too ambitious and it's suffering, and we won't really see what Yuri on Ice is supposed to look like until like Blu-rays come out.
Okay.
That's disappointing.
It's kind of the state of the industry right now. We're getting a lot of that. Like with Berserk, you know how it was CG?
Mm-hmm.
The Blu-rays are going to have like actual animated scenes, like hand-drawn.
Scenes are like the entire thing.
Scenes, not the entire thing, but...
I think that's going to be weird, switching between CG and non-CG. If anything, because like when you're watching something CG, it's really weird at first, and eventually your eyes like become accustomed to it.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but yeah, I don't disagree. But anyways, I don't have a reason for liking Ping Pong Girls, but I still really like Ping Pong Girls, so if anyone is watching it and they can help me justify why I like it, please message me. That would be fantastic.
Do they play ping pong?
They do, that's all they do.
Just
Nice.
for fun or competitively?
Competitive.
Oh,
Okay,
definitely
alright.
competitive.
I would rather do it just for fun. Like they just hang around a house and play ping pong.
Marge comes
Just
in
tell
like a
funny
lion.
stories.
Marge comes in like a lion, is setting up for some potentially really big scenes, but at the same time, not a lot has been actually happening. So there's a lot of build-up, but that's why people aren't liking it. Nothing has happened yet, but there have been like a flash of like a rape scene, and like, but aside from that, it's like really casual and nothing's going on.
Ugh.
So we'll see about that. I'm kind of losing interest in Shumatsu no Izeta. It's yeah.
Not worth I originally said 3 episodes. I'm still at 1. Should I keep it at 1?
I don't think you should continue with it.
Right. So I'm saying I was gonna give it 3, but you're saying it's not even worth 3. Just keep it at the 1 I've seen.
Like, I would watch it completely based off how you felt about the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't. Haikyuu is really hyped. There's a really cool volleyball game going on, and like every time this one guy spikes, it's animated like the opponent is getting like hit by a truck. They get hit and they like fly back. It's so intense. Loving Haikyuu. And then Flip Flappers. You always laugh. Flip
It's
Flappers.
supposed to be good.
At the moment, it's not the best thing that's airing right now, but I think it's my favorite. I really like the style. It's really interesting and different. And then Keijo is the best anime ever. So, Jeremy, do you want to read some names of people who reblogged our episode?
Yes, and we love that. So I'm gonna say it's super sexy.
Do it.
Nicholas. Shit, I can't even say the first. Ryu Nicholas. Clear Love. Mitsuki Stop. What? Amai Buns. 6.
Man, you had a chance there.
See, he told me to stop. 6ix9ine Mafia. Pyracarius. Bin the Fucker. Mechacraft X. And the Little Anime Lover. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Is she completely naked?
I think so.
Yes, she is. So please send us questions or episode topics or just opinions on whatever you're watching at the moment. If you reblog or share our episode, we'll be sure to give you a shout out. And if you have the time, please give us an iTunes review. It really helps us out. And like always, we want to thank Hentai Dude for our intro music and Kid Boo for our outro music. And like always, get
Drunk.
And
Anime.
see you guys next week.
You can catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho-Oh in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit. Catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho-Oh in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit.
is it bestiality if you fuck someone with ears?
No.
No.
You guys both say no like you've done it before.
Not like I've done it.
You just said with ears.
Well, like
You
that.
literally said with ears.
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
Like,
she,
no
she
shit.
Well, like she has cat ears
Okay,
and a
now I
cat
get it.
tail. Okay, like a cat
Sounded like
person.
You guys have fucked someone with ears before? You guys are weird.